Hello, good evening, and hello. I'm Tom Miller, and this is HRTV News. This week's top stories.
Dong!
With schools set to open their doors to foundation stage, year 1 and year 6, we find out everything that you need to know about coming back to school.
Dong!
We take a trip down memory lane at some of the highlights from HRTV, including some of the best bits you may have missed.
Dong!
What's been happening at school while you've been away? That's the question on everybody's lips. We find out with an exclusive interview.
Dong!
And finally, we take a look at what you have been up to since school closed its doors.
Dong!
Hello, good evening, and hello. Our top story this week. Boris Johnson announced 2 weeks ago that June the 1st would see schools reopen their door for a phased return for some children. While there has been some controversy around the decision, the main questions that you've been asking are: what will it look like? Can I touch my friends? How many times a day should I wash my hands? What should I do if I need to pick my nose? Well, to answer all of your questions and more, I'm joined in the studio today by Tim Brogan, head teacher and all-round nice guy. Hi Tim.
Hi Tom.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So, let's get straight to it. What will school look like when the children return? What will the main differences be?
So, Tom, the school building is still the same. So there's that element of familiarity. However, there are some key changes that we've had to put in place to ensure that the staff, the pupils and their families who are coming on site remain safe. So we've asked that only one parent comes and drops off their child at school, one parent or carer should I say, that they follow the one-way system around the school and use the entrances that have been assigned to those to their specific bubbles. And when the children get into their class, we've kind of sectioned off zones where they're able to play and to learn. That each bubble has got its own toilet, and in the zones where the children will be sat will be kind of separate to their friends. So we won't have tables that are in groups. Each child will have their individual table.
So what you're saying is, it's really important to be in the zone. Can children touch each other?
The simple answer to that is no. We all need to be making sure that we are following the social distancing guidelines and measures that have been set out by the government in order to keep ourselves and other people safe. Now, we're aware that people forget and people will forget, and there'll be no one told off if that happens. However, we will be using a mixture of education, reminders and visual prompts to make sure that people do keep that distance from each other and do and ensure that they know not to touch each other.
How many times a day will children be expected to wash their hands, and will children be given a reminder to wash their hands?
We're looking at about 6 times a day. That's in line with other European countries like Denmark, who have already taken the approach that we're taking at school. Yes, there will be set times that children have to wash their hands, and the staff will actually be leading by example. So the staff will kind of begin that process, and then the children will be seeing that an adult is modelling how they should be acting. So yeah, up to six times a day.
I often pick my nose up to 100 times a day. I think that children pick their nose more. What should the children do if they need to pick their nose?
Well, the thing is, you're not on your own there, Tom. Lots of people in fact, it's a human activity that we touch our face lots and lots and lots of times, and we need to be aware of it. So we will be again using education and reminders to tell children not to touch their face. Obviously, if you have an itchy nose, then you should use a tissue. You should catch it, bin it, so put the tissue in the bin, and that should kill anything. If there is any bugs in there, that should get it out of the way for us. Teachers will be reminding, and obviously we want the children, the older they get, to be mindful of how important it is for good respiratory and hand hygiene.
Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Tom Miller with the hard-hitting questions every day. School. It's a wild place, full of witchcraft and wizardry, chambers of secrets and invisibility cloaks. Holy Rosary have been pretty empty without you here, but for a select group, school has still been open. We head over live to our roving reporter to find out what's been happening at school while you've been gone. Thanks, Tom. You join me here today with Claudia from Year 5. Claudia, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So, tell us, what does a normal day look like at school at the moment? And what have you been up to?
We've been mostly up to doing the same things.
Right.
Yeah, we've been doing exercises in the morning and maths.
With Joe Wicks?
Yes.
Good.
Maths and English.
Fantastic. What's been your favourite thing that you've done over the past few weeks?
That we could lie down on the mats and do our work instead of sitting on the chairs and do work on the tables.
Ah, so you've been able to do things just a little bit differently?
Yes.
Things been a little bit more relaxed?
Yes.
Yes. Claudia, here's the big question. Who's been the best teacher that you've had over the past few weeks?
I can't really choose from that. Everyone was good and amazing.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I can't choose from any.
Oh, very diplomatic. Sad question, Claudia. What's the worst thing about being here during lockdown?
The worst thing is that you can't really, you have to stay 2 meters away and you can't hug your friends.
Very sad, very sad. And what are you looking forward to the most next week about having a few more children in school?
Is to see more faces in school instead of less people.
Yeah.
And do some other things and normal things.
Good, that would be great. Claudia, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you. Tom, back to you in the studio. Thanks, Tom. Television is officially old. No one watches it anymore. It's rubbish. YouTube, on the other hand, is where it's at. I'm down with the kids, and the kids tell me they've loved watching all the videos that Holy Rosary has been uploading. Here's just a few things that happened on Holy Rosary YouTube channel since you've been gone. Mr. Brogan and Mr. Miller have been entertaining you every week with a praise and worship assembly. Have you seen the latest community challenge? What about story times? Mrs. Thomas read an amazing rendition of Room on a Broom. Looking for a story? Head over to HRTV. Looking for something in a different language? Miss Gillan read a story with a title that I can't pronounce, and Mrs. Batchelor dressed up like a wolf to read a story in Italian. Whatever you need, HRTV is here for you. Before our final story, let's head over to Mrs. Dyche for the weather.
What are you doing
Well, that was awkward. And finally, life in lockdown has been full of ups and downs. Some days we're full of enthusiasm and life like Joe Wicks after a can of Red Bull, and some days it's difficult to stay awake until lunchtime. But just what have you guys been up to over the past 10 weeks? Here's part 1 of our regular feature, but just what have you guys been up to over the past 10 weeks? First off, we have Evie from reception creating a fire engine from cardboard. Here she is on an Easter egg hunt with her sister, and she did some rainbow maths. Here's Theo, Year 4, and Scarlett from reception doing their bit for VE Day and supporting the NHS. Lily in Year 2 and Natalia in Year 5 celebrated VE Day. Keir in Year 5 has also been celebrating the NHS. And finally, Isaac and Caleb living their best lives, baking and experimenting. Hopefully not at the same time. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, loving heart, strong mind, stay alert.